themselves for. And it's all very simple and reasonable and logical to understand these principles. You know, when I talk about supply and demand, I try to give people the reason why your currency should go up in value. If it was sound, you understand, then capitalism and sound currency is nothing more than a means to an end. You see, I'm not for maintaining, you know, a money-based reality, because that's essentially what capitalism is forever. No, it's just a means to an end. When you've got so much wealth, so much of these, you know, these little trinkets that symbolize prosperity, that symbolize money, that you don't care. You can have anything you want anytime you want. Remember, the whole world becomes like the library with plenty of stuff, okay? It's not like we got to get busy and go make a lot of stuff. A lot of people have very simple appetites. They don't need big houses. They don't care. They don't need a fancy car. They don't care. Look, everybody is different and unique and individual. We all want different stuff. And the stuff already exists. You understand? Today, if today we just took money out of the equation entirely, society couldn't break down. If everybody kept doing the same things and the only thing you removed from the equation was the money, you know, somebody correct me if I'm wrong, but the system can't break down. You understand? And people are still going to, you know, people will start learning the stuff in higher education that they want to learn, that they're really interested in. You know, if you don't want to be a dentist, don't be a dentist. But if this is your calling, if this is what God says, you know, this is I want to learn how to do this thing. It's important. I like it. And whatever reasons you have for wanting to do a certain thing, that's the best reason you can ever have, because I want to learn it. You know, I'm doing this thing because I want, and then you can change. You can say, well, I decided I want to do this and that. But you know, that's the only time anybody's going to serve you is because they darn well want to, and nothing's going to stop them, and it'll work just fine. That's what we've got to understand. We would be even more productive, I predict. But you know, it gets stupid after a while. The main challenge that humanity would have is what to do with our time. That's all we would have to do. And that's what's coming. That's what we've got to really understand, is just how fundamentally wrong this system right now is. How it really is the illogical system. And these people are in a trap. They don't know. You know, this is a Ponzi scheme, like Max Kaiser's always talking. The whole system is a Ponzi scheme. And it cannot succeed. It was never meant to succeed. It was just meant to, you know, kick the can down the road, you know, the debt and all this stuff, the debasement of the currency. Let's push the envelope as long as we can, as long as we've got the thrust, the impetus, the momentum, the inertia. Let's just keep going and see how much the people will take before, you know, let's see if we get any bloody skirmishes, any revolt. In the meantime, let's try to get rid of the people because we don't need them anymore. You see, when you can fix prices, you don't need consumers. When you've got all this automation, all these robotics and mechanization, this, you know, industrialization to the nth degree, you don't need all the workers anymore. You can have self-driving semi-trucks and trains and cars and everything else out there. So you understand, when people don't believe there's a depopulation program going on, let me correct you, there is. They're trying to kill us in a multitude of ways. In our food, in our drink, in our air. It just goes on and on and on, okay? And, you know, vaccinations that aren't safe. Just, you know, economically, because, you know, when you're really poor and you can't afford to use energy to heat your home or cool your home, whatever the case that may be, then people die. That's a matter of fact. And, you know, price fixing, people really got to understand this thing, how dangerous this is, how perilous the times we're living in are. Because it's like this, a lot of people think they understand supply and demand on an intuitive level. And really you do. If you really try, you can. And you say, well, if there's less demand, that means there's more supply, and that means the price goes down. That's exactly what is supposed to happen. That's what happened with the VCR, okay? And that's why your VCR dollars are worth dramatically more than they used to be. Well, this should have and could have and should have happened across the board. It should have happened with housing and food and on and on. Unless there's a disruption in the supply chain Your currency relative to any given commodity should always go up in value if it is sound, if there's accountability, if there's checks and balances, if there's consumer protection regulations in place that don't allow these wolves. That's what they are. They're economic rapists out there that do not abide by the golden rule. That's them. That's they poo-poo that stuff. Constitution, conscience, and they try to teach you to do that. They try to teach everybody to live with that kind of philosophy that just, don't worry about being goody two-shoes. Just, do what makes you a lot of money, because this is what's going to make you happy. And so you can understand why we're in the situation we're in, because there's so much mass misunderstanding out there about these basic, fundamental economic issues that you should understand the why and wherefore. If humanity is making any progress at all, if civilization, societies are making any progress, these things aren't supposed to happen. Oppression is not supposed to increase, it's supposed to decrease. Poverty is never supposed to increase, it's supposed to decrease. Again, unless there's a disruption in the supply chain, if there is an abundance, that abundance should rightfully be shared. There's no purpose. Who are you to withhold it from another? Who are you to decide, at what point inequality is okay? Then you become the judge, jury, and executioner. I don't want anything to do with it. So that's why I'm willing to share this earth with my fellow human beings, my brothers and sisters, because I believe this is right in the sight of God, and this will bring me happiness. This is bringing me the character and the nature and the personality of God himself, and this is what he wants for not just me, he wants for all of us. Be all you can be. Be humble. I mean, you see how much I tear apart myself. I mean, my own name, I don't like it because they think it's blasphemous. It's awfully hard on guys named Chris, because I got nothing against guys named Chris. Chris Credit sounds a little goofy, but I'm being immature and stupid. I admit, I confess. That's really, that's because that's not the intent. My parents, I'm going to blaspheme the Christ by naming my son the Christ or something. I mean, this is not anybody's intention for them. But, you see, we're all hardest on ourselves. And this is okay because, we've all got to be true to ourselves. We've all got to be kind of our own best friend. This is why we should turn to God, because God understands us and loves us in a way nobody else can. They just can't do it, even though they would like to. And they genuinely do love and respect you and admire you and your friend, like I do with Alex Jones. I really admire and respect and love this guy. But, as a friend, and it's all of our prerogatives, it's all your choice and right to be everybody's best friend. I don't have to meet somebody to be their friend, but, you can help people. He reads his comments, so you can leave if you want to admonish somebody, correct them in whatever way. Maybe you were careless with the words you chose, and I do it all the time, and, I'm sorry, and I can apologize. And just the other night at a Chico Skywatch meeting, this chemtrail meeting, I had an outburst because some guy who said something about him. I don't know how we got from chemtrails to immigration, and he started, slamming Alex Jones for his stand on it. And, and right away I got defensive of Alex, and I had an outburst, and I ended up walking out of the meeting, and later I had to apologize and say, look, I disagree myself with Alex. I'm probably Alex Jones's worst critic, but I'm probably also his greatest fan. And, it's one of those things where when somebody's your friend, you've got an obligation to correct them, okay? Because nobody else is gonna, because their enemy wants them to fall into a pit. So if you really, consider yourself somebody's friend, it's your obligation to correct them when they're wrong. This is called constructive criticism. This is a very American precept that we do this thing. This is how we grow. And so, I just want to throw that out there that, we have an obligation, and we should do it tactfully if possible, but we've got to be effective. And, later we can always apologize if we think the words we chose were too harsh or whatever. But, the point is that, if I was, hanging out with Alex Jones, I could see being a good friend, but I'm going to tell him the score whenever I think he's wrong about an issue. I'm going to tell him, Al, you know what? This is an important issue to me. I mean, to say that giving people cost of living adjustments, minimum wage workers, is not justifiable is patently wrong. Because if you don't give somebody a cost of living adjustment, if your cost of living is going up and your wages stay steady, there's no difference than if you got a pay decrease. And yes, I'm against people getting perpetual pay decreases. Okay. And what I said made mathematical sense. It does. Okay, it's the same thing. So we've got to understand this issue and understand just how badly we can get mind-effed out there into thinking the way they want us to think. But this is this hyper-competitive, dog-eat-dog, rat race, social Darwinism perversion that they're imposing on us. And, to believe, that that's okay in any degree, that any inequality is okay, then you're prescribing that whole philosophy. You are becoming their sheep, their minions, their followers, their disciples of this New World Order crowd. And I want nothing to do with these people, okay? So I hope you don't either, because they're a miserable gaggle of frauds. That's it. That's all they are. They're liars, cheaters, thieves, murderers, and that's how they get away with their stuff. They get away, blow JFK's brains out because he's a threat to these, these money masters, these private money masters. So understand that's how they get away with what they do.